are the individuals in New York City that they can demonstrate that their fencing lineage goes back to fencing masters that come out of historic Europe.
Oh, well, they can track it back.
Yeah, absolutely,
That's cool.
absolutely. And so just like say in Eastern martial arts, right? And so for the longest time there were two masters and only two masters in North America, and those were the two Martinez who are now married. That one started off as a student of the other, but in the last, don't quote me, maybe 5 years, they have had students of theirs that they've had for well over a decade that have just recently, I say recently in the last couple of years, achieved the status of master, right? And they have students that have kind of spread to different corners of the country, and so there are some on the West Coast and in the Washington area. There are some of their students who are not necessarily masters, also in Florida. There are some that are in California that are involved in film and fight choreography and things of that nature.
That's awesome.
Right? So I've never had the opportunity to go and study with them directly, but because Patrick Morgan at Columbia Classical Fencing is so disciplined and focused, he also is fluent in French. He's really tried to adhere very much to their teachings, and he's very much accepted as one of their kind of proteges, so to speak, although he would never call himself a fencing master. And then the assistant instructor up there, his name's Chris O'Keefe. He's just been fencing now, so I'm going to guess maybe like 25 years, and started off kind of like doing what we're doing, just when he was in college. Loved playing with sticks and swords and was really interested in Eastern.
We had that on the University of Puerto Rico. The only thing we had was Gregorio Acevedo, which was the fencing coach, but he also had the class for theatrical fencing.
Oh yeah.
Fencing. And he did have, I'm pretty sure he had some experience with classical fencing, but it's one semester class. You don't get
Yeah.
And that was like 25 years.
Yeah, long time.
He's still around.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were just talking before you arrived. There are lots of groups, apparently scattered small groups, doing various forms of historical / classical fencing, HEMA, what have you, in the Springfield area, but no one's been able to kind of get them to coalesce into a lasting group. For a number of years, Nick Evangelista had his core group, and he also was like the club instructor at Missouri State, but that fell apart several years ago.
It was basically college team.
Yeah, I think I had a friend who was in that. Her name's Trinity. She mentioned she was in fencing a few years back in MSU, but some time ago.
Yeah, and that's now kind of defunct. And I was kind of so sad to hear that, because that happened just before I moved here, is what I understand. About a year or so before the pandemic. Talking with Patrick in Columbia, he's like, well, Scott, start your own club. You're capable of doing that. And I'm a teacher, so I love doing it. And so the hope is that we can get people involved and interested.
Yeah.
And like say, even though without a whole lot of notice, I mean, you're here, there are other people that I really do think they're not just saying it because they've shown up more than once. And some of them have some fencing background and some don't. So let's have a little fun. Just real briefly, so that you are, I guess, a little bit informed as like a new person, because I don't remember if we talked about this before, but did we talk about equipment?
A smidgen. We kind of went over the weapons, discussed what a few things were called, talked about the pieces of the weapons, and then did some stances and some footwork.
Okay, yeah. So I remember that as far as content, but when it comes to like equipment, and did we talk about starter sets at all?
You kind of brushed over it and said we'll probably go into it more next time.
Okay, so just real briefly, and there's no need for you to rush out and buy stuff, because I have I guess somewhere around 10 sets of equipment at home. Not that I will definitely have something that fits you, but I probably do. I mean, when I started teaching with high school students, I have lots of sets that are smaller, for little people, because some of them were small, females. But I probably have a mask, right? And a jacket and glove and foil that you can use. So just real briefly, you have to have a mask, right? Protects your eyes. It's a relatively modern invention in fencing, because fencing masters often are missing eyes, or historically were. So you got to have a mask. You got to have a glove. And I wanted to show you these gloves, not knowing who are going to be here, but there are washable gloves, which are these type of gloves. So check that out. We won't start off using gloves, but they're washable, and of course you only put that on your weapon hand. And I brought a couple different sizes if you want to try and figure out what would fit you. So there's washable gloves, and then this is my favorite glove for
So what's
classical
the size
fencing.
for that one?
This one?
That's probably, I think that's probably a medium. Here's a large. You do want it to be kind of a firm fit.
This is a medium.
Yeah, so you might try a large and see.
Yeah.
You do
So
want it
now you know
snug.
you're in between medium and large.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a little smidgen
Yeah.
loose on the fingertips.
Yeah.
That was a smidgen tight, but
Yeah.
I prefer the tight than loose.
Yeah, and it will of course stretch out. So
Yeah.
so now if ever you decide in the next month or so you want to get a set of equipment, probably
Let
medium's
me
gonna
check the large.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah. And then are you a right-handed individual?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right-handed, yeah. Okay, now this is the glove that I love the most. This actually belongs to Ella, but you might check that out. That's a lambskin, and it's really supple. Really supple. The trouble is you can't get a
my hand in
lambskin
there.
glove in a starter set.
Yeah,
of
my
equipment.
hand ain't going there.
Yeah, oh no, I can't get my hand in there. But you can feel how, I had one that fit me, but it literally just over the years, it fell to pieces, because they do wear out. But the nice thing about this is, remember this concept that we talked about earlier. Let's see if I can get out one of my classical foils here. Let's go with this one. One of the things that you really want to do is you want to very subtly manipulate the grip with your fingers. And so what you feel here with this very light touch really informs you as a fencer. It tells you where your opponent is, and it maybe gives you hints as to where they're going. And it's kind of like, an insect's antenna, right? So having a really light glove that protects your hand with a little bit of padding on the back, but so that you can really sense it.
Yeah.
I love this style of glove. And it used to be there about $20, $25 for that single glove.
Not bad.
But they last a long time. Typically, in a starter kit, you will get